Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Happy weekend to you. Saturday, essentially, depending on when you watch this. Might even be Sunday by the time you check it out. Either way you look at it, we're just going to take a quick peek at yesterday's, redness. It was a brutal day in the market for a lot of altcoins, and Bitcoin, of course, was no stranger to that, right? Of course, obviously, the price came down very well. We're going to see if it's going to recover or just generally what we're looking at. We'll take a quick peek at traditional markets. Honestly, we could even do that right now. You can kind of see that just not so great, honestly. Regular markets are down pretty decent. They gap down heavily both Thursday and Friday, and at this point, just seriously struggling, okay? So if it continues, then we can expect Bitcoin to come down a little bit further. If it doesn't continue, we can obviously expect maybe something different. What goes up must come down, the whole inverse thing there as well. What's going down will inevitably come up, but just a matter of time. That being said, though, if you are new to the channel, please understand I love teaching people to trade. Hopefully you can learn something here today, so let me know if you do. I've got a Trading Academy community and Signal group as well if you would like to register. Link down below. We've got a lot of good members, and it's just an amazing community. And obviously, if you are currently part of the community, you will be grandfathered in, of course, when the rates do increase next year. Recommend jumping in there soon and hopefully getting a part of that, or at least becoming part of the community so you can lock in your rate. We do have signals as well that I send out as part of the community. So we did take 55%. Basically, it's a trade that I took at what was it, 4 days worth of it was a period, right? So in 4 days, took 55%. That is tremendously better than the rate of return you're going to find in any other market. Okay, so again, that was a short from Bitcoin recently. So good stuff there. I do recommend at this point just generally being careful with long positions. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but that's part of it. Last thing too, I've got a prize pool of $10,000 monthly through Bitget. So if you use the link in the description below, you can register for that. Best exchange in the world, in my personal opinion, and you automatically by default will qualify. And there's really easy things: profit loss ratio, trading volume, super easy to qualify for it. And if you need a VPN, which you will if you're in the States, you get 3 months extra for free on a 12-month plan through Crypto Cash. The link is also down below. Recently partnered with ExpressVPN. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been my favorite VPN for years, and I can tell you it'll probably be yours as well if you like that. So check that out in your own time. So here's the thing with Bitcoin. We know what happened yesterday, but just kind of reiterate, we had a pretty significant loss from top to bottom. That is almost 5.5%. That is huge for Bitcoin because 5.5% is a chunk of change, especially if you are 10, 15, 20x on your leverage. So again, always be cautious and careful with that, but generally speaking, that did lead to the price action decreasing pretty much. And what we want to recognize too as well is that when we're under 50 on the RSI, that's going to work as a resistance level. So we can expect 16.9 or 17.2 to be new resistance levels until it proves otherwise and breaks through. Okay, so again, it's not like an exact science, but that's definitely what's going on. We also see a MACD divergence here as well, so we can expect another week or two of bearish sentiment, right? Because the momentum is essentially shifted from bullish to bearish. And again, this wasn't even massively bullish. That was just kind of a slow incline. Again, a slow incline from this wonderful FTX issue, right? So FTX really screwed a lot of people, and it's really unfortunate, very frustrating, especially with the residual now with Binance. It just doesn't make any sense at all. Again, watch my Binance videos if you're curious about that, but for lack of better terms here, mostly bearish sentiment here on the daily. There's nothing really that's changed too much. It's just kind of reiterated the fact that it's absolutely bearish. We got rejected very hard off the 50-day simple moving average, and we can kind of see that's working its way down. So as that works its way down, we have the inevitability of being back up above that eventually, and that would be positive, likely a fundamental catalyst to kind of push the price action higher, or just say a technical catalyst rather, in that sense. So again, everything is bearish on the daily. There's nothing we see here that isn't. And unfortunately, we could very well see further downside. That's basically what it's telling us, that further downside is possible. And what we're seeing here is, of course, we got this trend line here with basically lower highs, and we can see that it's continuing that pattern. We haven't seen these lower highs yet here, of course, because we could start establishing higher lows, but it's still too early to tell. What we need is higher lows to establish a change in direction here and break this descending trend. So, again, we could very well go sideways and up from here, but you got to recognize we could go sideways and down too. But I wouldn't expect a tremendous amount of movement this weekend. It's just kind of stuck on stupid, as I like to call it. Okay, and that's kind of the way it goes. When it comes to the 4-hour, though, we can see that the momentum to the downside is starting to dissipate. There is potential for a MACD convergence, basically just telling us that the 12s intersecting with the 26 in upward fashion. And that would effectively tell us that there's a shift in momentum from bearish to bullish on the midterm. The midterm, at least that's what I call it, is a 4-hour time frame because it takes the 1 hour and translates it into the 1 day and effectively tells us a lot about what's going on in the market. What it's telling us here is we're barely sustaining above support level, which is 16,600, and that should essentially hold itself at least through the remainder of the weekend. When markets open on Monday, depending on if they're green or red, will effectively determine if Bitcoin goes up or down. I think we're very reliant on the traditional markets for the moment, and we really need to recognize that. Because you look at this here, there's a very similar pattern, right? You see this significant decline that's occurring in both areas, okay? So again, just something to kind of recognize there, okay? We're very reliant on the regular markets, and with inflation only being 0.5% may not seem like a lot, that absolutely isn't great at all, okay? Again, we had this false positive here where the price comes up and then just gets shot back down, bounced off a key level resistance at 18.4. All right, so anyways, the 4 hour is not looking fantastic, but it does look like we should see some sideways action, perhaps a convergence on the MACD in the next 48 hours, I would say. Perhaps even Monday or Tuesday, we'll see something along those lines if the market goes sideways or up, right? If it goes down, obviously it's not going to occur, but we are very overextended to the downside, so it is less likely for the price to go any further down. Again, at least in the immediate future, it makes sense to go sideways and down, but it wouldn't make any sense for it to go straight down from here. Okay, we look at TD sequential, we see we hit an 8 here on TD sequential and a 7 here. So really just implying that we've had a significant, 24 to 36 hours of bearish continuation times 2. That happened twice in a row. So when that happens 2 times in a row and you get full day and a half of continuation in either direction, there's going to be this natural capitulation where the price action recovers and goes the other way. In this case here, we can see that the price action is going sideways, but it's a weekend, low volume, not a lot to expect. Okay, so again, weekends are kind of just blah. It's not great. They're especially terrible when you have a very red Friday. Typically, it's hard to see a recovery or green weekend when you have a strong red day on Friday. And unfortunately, we did. It was a bloody red Friday. So taking a look at the 1 hour, we'll just go ahead and call it a day after this here. We can see not a lot of continuation here for TD sequential. And for the cloud, this is kind of a similar narrative to a lot of other coins. Some are doing a little bit better. They've recovered stronger, like BNB, for example, even though it got hit really hard. It's actually converging with its conversion line versus the baseline. So if you kind of just look at where we're at here, conversion line is still below the baseline, so that's still bearish. The lagging span is almost intersected with the price action, telling us if you have a short position, you may want to consider closing it, or at least moving your stop loss to break even. That way you're still profitable if it comes back down to your entry point, right? And then furthermore, of course, both lagging spans, the lead upper and lower lead, basically for the cloud, they're both well away. So in other words, we have no reason to consider a long position at any point in time until we get back up above this. And it's going to take some time. Even if the price goes sideways for a long time, we'll still at least have another 24 to 48 hours before we have any kind of confirmation that we want to go in that direction. So at this point, it is best to not open a trade. Honestly, we're sitting on our hands for a moment until we get some kind of confirmation in the market on Monday. If market movers start happening on Monday and we have a decent open to the market, then it's going to be a different story altogether. I do feel like we'll naturally be above the cloud. We can retest some of these resistance levels, and we'll see what happens from there. But again, there's really no confirmation here except for the fact that we're still bearish and that window is slowly closing. Okay. Again, as we go sideways, we get less confirmation, and that's all well and good. We need consolidation before we can have any type of effort up or down. All right. So that basically just summarize. The quick way to summarize this here is just that we're still bearish. We still want to consider or be in the mindset of a bearish scenario, but we also got to be mindful of the fact that we're overextended, and the likelihood of a pullback to the upside would make sense. I just wouldn't expect a very strong pullback. I would think that we're going to be probably range bound between 16.6 and 16.9, or maybe 16.6 and 17.3. Probably something along those lines for a little while until the market recovers. Okay, so again, that's kind of where we're at there. Not great, not terrible, but mostly bad. Right, so I hope that made sense for you. Thanks again for joining me here. If you want to become a better trader, join the community before the rates do increase. Inevitably, next year we're going to have a lot more functionality, a lot more benefits to the community, and that's going to be available through cryptocash.tech. I look forward to working with you. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for your time. See you next one.